When humanity lives in a world of global anxiety, when the world trembles in silence, there is a truth few dare to look straight in the eye. Never in history have human beings been this safe and this terrified. We have homes, money, vaccines, technology, yet we tremble before tomorrow itself. The news speaks of wars, AI taking jobs, markets collapsing, a fake tweet shaking Wall Street. Everyone talks about freedom, but deep in the heart, they only want safety. Osho says, "Fear exists not because life is dangerous, but because you have never learned how to live." Fear is not in the world, it is in how we live. Osho once asked his disciples, "If there were no fear, would you need courage?" No. Fear creates the space for courage to arise. Today's world teaches us to avoid fear, teaches us positive thinking, focus on the good. But the truth is, when you run from fear, you give it power. Like darkness, it only exists when you refuse to look at it. Osho says, "Fear is nothing but the absence of love, and the way to deal with it is not through fight, but through understanding." You cannot defeat fear. You can only understand it, see it, and walk through it. In 2025, experts call this the era of artificial emotions. AI doesn't just predict behavior, it exploits fear to sell products, steer politics, and manipulate belief. You fear being left behind, they sell you fast-track success courses. You fear loneliness, they create AI lovers. You fear failure, they offer guaranteed success tools. And every time you click buy, you feed fear with your own money. Osho says, the fearful mind can be ruled forever. Only the fearless one becomes free. When you are afraid, you are easy to lead. When you understand fear, no one can control you anymore. A child does not fear life. It falls, cries, then laughs again. Its fear does not linger because it does not think. But adults, before anything happens, they fear what might happen. Before losing anything, they imagine every scenario of loss. Osho says, mind lives in the future. Life lives only in the now. The mind creates fear because it always lives before or after this moment. Real life knows no fear because it only knows the present. Once, Osho told the story of a man who feared darkness. He lit hundreds of lamps in his house. One day, the power went out. He sat curled up, trembling. And then, in utter despair, he opened his eyes. He saw his own inner light. When the power came back, he laughed. From that day, he no longer feared the dark. Osho says, when you see your inner light, all outer darkness disappears. We don't need more light out there. We only need to open our eyes in the night. Today, fear no longer comes from wild beasts or war. It comes from a phone notification. You hear ting, your heart races. An email, a message, a negative comment, and you fall into anxiety. We live in an invisible storm where the mind has no moment of rest. Osho says, you fear because you are never alone with yourself. If you dare to sit still just for a few minutes, fear will reveal its true form. It is only energy not yet understood. And when you look at it with the light of awareness, it transforms into creative power. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is walking despite fear. Osho says, fear and courage always exist together. Only the coward separates them. The coward chooses safety. The courageous chooses freedom. The modern world constantly invites you. Avoid risk, choose stability, buy insurance. But Osho says, you can insure your body, but not your soul. The soul only grows when it is thrown into the fire of fear. A soldier in an ancient battlefield feared real death. A bullet, an explosion, he reacted to survive. Then it was over. Fear ended. But modern man, sitting in a safe room, still trembles before a future that hasn't arrived. Osho says, the mind creates fear. Life knows no fear. It's not reality that makes us afraid, but the movies our mind directs. Each person lives like a neurotic filmmaker, screening thousands of tragedies in their head, then believing they are real. A child falls, it cries, then forgets. An adult falls, they worry, will I fall again? That is the difference between reaction and imagination. Children live in this moment. Adults live in memory and prediction. Osho says, Fear is born when the mind leaves the present. When you are truly in the now, you cannot be afraid, because there is no tomorrow to worry about and no yesterday to regret. Last week, a viral news claimed AI could self-learn to attack humans. Tech stocks plunged 15%, even though the story was fake, generated by another AI. This is the perfect example of the collective mind. We fear what we imagine. Osho says mind is a projection factory. It produces fear as easily as the body produces breath. We live among countless forecasted fears. Fear of losing jobs, love, approval, not being good enough, and fear of losing internet connection. But 99% of them never happen. They only live in the assumption zone of the mind. Have you ever tried to take a break from fear? Impossible, right? Because fear doesn't come from emotion, but from endless thought streams. The more you think, the more you fear. The more you analyze, the more you tremble. Osho says, the mind survives through fear, just as the ego survives through comparison. If you suddenly become peaceful, the mind sees danger because it has nothing left to do. That's why modern people fear peace itself. They say, I want peace of mind. But when peace comes, they panic. Why am I so calm? Global media corporations are fed by fear. Every headline, every video, every push notification is engineered to trigger panic. A small crisis can generate billions in ad revenue. Fear sells because it freezes you, Osho. Fear paralyzes the will, and when you are paralyzed, you become the perfect consumer. The world no longer needs weapons to control you. It only needs a headline you click. Osho says, you cannot stop the mind by force, but you can stop following it. Try this experiment. When fear arises, don't think how to stop it. Just stop and watch the mind running wild. You will see the miracle. The moment you look, it stops. Not because you forced it, but because the light of awareness makes darkness unable to exist. That is meditation, and meditation is the only medicine for all fear. Humans fear uncertainty the most. But Osho says, life is uncertainty. That's its beauty. If you knew everything in advance, you would stop living. It is life's surprise that makes every moment worth existing. The world tries to convince you that safety is happiness. But Osho reveals, happiness grows only in freedom, and freedom means risk. When you no longer need to know, when you accept I don't know what's coming, fear dissolves and real life begins. Never before has humanity had so many cures for fear. Pills for anxiety, quick-fix meditation apps, AI therapists promising peace in 90 seconds. But the more we try to switch fear off, the louder it returns. The more we suppress, the deeper it hides. Osho said, whatever you suppress goes deeper into your unconscious, and there it waits, growing stronger. Fear is like a child left alone in the dark. The more you ignore it, the louder it cries. In 2025, a startup in San Francisco launched an emotion control headband. It uses mild electric pulses to turn off fear in 90 seconds. But after 3 months, users reported severe panic attacks. Because repression is not healing, it's postponement. Osho said, repression is not transformation, it is postponement, and what you postpone becomes powerful. You can't bury fear and expect it to die. You're simply making an appointment with it later, when it will come back stronger. You cannot run away from your shadow. The faster you run, the faster it chases. Only when you stop and turn, it vanishes. Osho said, look at your fear as if you are watching clouds passing in the sky. No analysis, no judgment, just watching. And the moment you watch, fear loses its control, because awareness has entered. A true story from Tokyo. A software engineer worked 16 hours a day. One morning in the elevator, his heart raced, hands trembled, breath froze, a panic attack. Medication, therapy apps, breathing courses, nothing helped. Then he found Osho's words, don't fight your fear, sit with it. So he did. For the first time, he sat and watched his fear rise. He didn't move, he didn't resist. 2 minutes later, the fear dissolved. He cried, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Fear was never the enemy, only a part of him longing to be seen. You don't have to fight fear. You just have to turn on the light. You don't sweep darkness out with a broom. You light a lamp, and the darkness is gone. Osho said, "Awareness is the greatest alchemy. Whatever you look at with awareness transforms." Look into fear with awareness, and it becomes understanding. Osho never told you to escape life for meditation. He told you to meditate in the middle of fear. When fear comes, don't force positivity. Just close your eyes, feel your heartbeat. Don't slow it, don't fix it, just watch. Osho said, in watching, fear loses its root, because the watcher is not the one who fears. The observer never trembles, the observer only sees, and seeing is freedom. The world celebrates adrenaline heroes, those who jump, shout, or break limits. But Osho said, the real courage is not in doing, but in seeing. The world doesn't need more warriors, it needs witnesses. You don't need to overcome fear, you only need to see it, for in that moment, fear is no longer you. It's just a cloud passing through the sky of consciousness. We live in an age of fake fears and a lack of true courage. People fear losing Wi-Fi, fear silence, fear being unseen, but no longer fear losing their soul. Osho said, courage is not the absence of fear, but the total acceptance of it. The brave don't wait for fear to vanish, they walk with it. In 2025, a global insurance company launched. We don't just insure your life, we insure your fears. Millions bought the Total Peace plan, yet insomnia rates rose. Because you can buy safety, but you can't buy courage. Osho said, you can insure your body, but not your soul. You can lock your doors, but not your heart. Every industry profits from fear. Medicine sells calm, media sells panic, politics sells protection, social media sells validation. Fear is the new currency. Osho said, face your fear, not to fight it, but to walk hand in hand with it. Courage isn't defiance, it's companionship. Standing at the edge of a cliff, your mind says don't, your heart whispers fly. If you run, you survive, but as a prisoner of your fear. If you step forward, you discover that fear dissolves into energy. Osho said, go into the fear. Don't analyze it, don't argue with it. Go through it, and it disappears. Walking through fear releases the life force within you. A young woman in Gaza once said on camera, every day I'm afraid, but I still open the window to see the light. The world was moved, not because she had no fear, but because she lived with it. Osho said, fear closes you, courage opens you, even in danger. Fear contracts, courage expands, and only expansion brings life. The world says be safe, Osho says be real, because safety is a slow death. Only those who risk loss find life. Life begins where fear ends. Osho. Osho taught, do one thing each day that scares you, not to prove strength, but to meet life. When fear arises, don't fight it, act with awareness. You'll see you don't die, you come alive. Each time you face fear, you reclaim your freedom. Human civilization was built to escape death. Everything, technology, medicine, insurance, social media, is a desperate attempt to postpone the inevitable. We store data forever, create digital copies of ourselves, and pray that AI might carry our souls. But the more we try to live forever, the more terrified we become of dying. Osho said, the more you cling to life, the more you invite fear. We are not living, we are resisting death. Humans don't really fear death. They fear losing their identity. If you believe you are this body, then when it ends, you end. But Osho said, once you know you are not the body, death disappears, and fear with it. Death only takes the form, not the essence. Like a wave returning to the ocean, it doesn't vanish, it rejoins the infinite. In 2025, an American company launched Eternal Avatar, an AI replica that texts, talks, and thinks like you after you die. Millions signed up. Why? Because we fear disappearing. Osho said, only the false dies. The real was never born and will never end. We cling to our profiles, our names, our archives, forgetting that we are not data. We are the awareness behind it. Death doesn't destroy life, it refreshes it. Each time you let go of an old belief, a memory, or an identity, a small death happens, and through it, you are reborn. Osho said, if you can die to the past each day, you will live each day totally. To die daily is to live fully. A man in England was told he had 6 months to live. Instead of despairing, he began to live truly. He quit his job, confessed his love, meditated in the morning sun. 6 months passed, he was still alive. A year later, his cancer was gone. He said, I didn't defeat death. I just stopped fearing it, and for the first time I lived. Osho said, when you stop fearing death, life pours into you with a new intensity. Meditation is not escape. It is the art of conscious death. When you close your eyes, you let the I fade. No control or no fear, only life breathing through you. Osho said meditation is dying consciously, then death is no longer death, it is transformation. Those who meditate daily don't meet God after death, they meet God in every breath. Modern society worships safety, financial safety, emotional safety, digital safety. But Osho said, safety is suicide in slow motion. Safety kills adventure. Adventure keeps the soul alive. The truly alive don't seek safety, they seek truth. Once you have tasted the depth of life, you will not trade it for security. Where you fear dying the most is exactly where life calls you to awaken.